it's sort of bizarre that today in Montgomery County, people are looking at the 46th district. So let's just take a quick step back, okay? This year, our legislature, Silver, Skelos, and Cuomo, eliminated the Bronx, eliminated Nassau, combined Staten Island and Suffolk in order to figure out the number of state Senate people based on the 1894 Constitution. Then they looked at the two mathematical formulas that would give you the number of state Senate seats, and Skelos decided, with Cuomo's acquiescence, to combine the two, which had never been done before. And the court decision, which was very reasoned and very good, said this is disturbing, but the fact is there's nothing in the Constitution that would allow us to opine versus it being a legislative prerogative. So what some people call an obscure constitutional provision, I don't consider it obscure, I think it's damn important, is determining not only who controls the state Senate, but more importantly, maybe the fate of finally getting money out of Albany and money out of politics. That's not right. Now, to make it worse, in the constitutional amendment that is being proposed, that Cuomo calls permanent reform, this 1894 provision has not been changed. The vision of our legislative leaders is, in 2022 and forever, we will eliminate Nassau and the Bronx. That's not forward thinking. It's not something we should accept, and we need to educate the voters that these are not minor issues. This constitutional provision must be rejected. And I ask, and I'll be interested, I'm sure there are positive things in that constitutional provision, but I want you to know my stand is very, very clear. Now, Andrew, if you could just open the site for a minute. One of the things that I think, if we're going to finally have real impact and let our voices be told, and it's why this group is so important, you have to put, and I don't need to tell you this, in historical perspective, what's been happening here. And so, I can't see it, but can you?
It's more enough.
Okay. If you take a look at the 1967 Constitutional Convention, which we were talking earlier, is just a wonderful, wonderful document. It's a shame it wasn't passed. And Andrew, go up to 1967. I want to point out two things. On the site, and in fact, Jerry, you wrote this, didn't you? You know, the good things that happened, or was it you and...
I think it was me.
Oh,
there it is. We signed on it.
Okay.
I can't escape.
All right, Andrew, we got to see this thing. Go down. Jerry lists 3 or 4 things that were done there. So let's go to the list. I'm just going to point out 2. 1, there would be 60 members of the state Senate. The number would be fixed. Take a look at number 1. Independent redistricting, simply done, okay? Not the convoluted, still legislatively controlled amendment that is being passed. And I like to point out, and we were discussing it earlier, look at number 4. All public assistance and Medicaid costs not paid for by the national government out of their budget, there would be no mandated local shares. And that was a democratically controlled convention, a democratically controlled passage of this. And Brian Cole will be talking about this earlier. But the position was, if you centralize those costs in one place, there's responsibility to manage it, and you know where to look. The history of this state would have been different if just those 3, and there's many more, had been passed. So where we are, as far as I'm concerned, is that we've now had 3 straight Democratic governors that I feel have let us down. And I'm obviously partisan on this. I had great hopes for Spitzer. We don't have to go further on that. David, on redistricting, he brought a 202 lawsuit. I helped finance that lawsuit on redistricting. He had 2 Democratic controlled chambers. He had an incredible opportunity to get a whole bunch of stuff passed. He didn't do it. And the governor, current governor, as far as I'm concerned, has taken a cynical approach to constitutional change. He's managed the old culture extremely well, but he hasn't fixed it, and we have to fix it. We can do better. So let me talk about one thing, which is the actual constitutional, amendment. Look, I talked to Jeremy Creelan after Jerry wrote his soft critique and posted it and gave it a C+, and C-, and
I'm a low grader.
and Creelan said, and I'd be interested to hear it. He says, Bill, look, these things always end up in court. I understand the criticisms, okay? This was the best we could do. But there are a lot of nuanced new protections that are in that amendment that will make for better court decisions in 2022. That is probably true. I don't fully understand it, and I'll be interested on a positive side to hear some of the good things that are in that amendment. But it's clear to me it has to be rejected, not only because it keeps this bizarre 1894 number of state senators in. I mean, why would anyone do that? It's just beyond me, okay? But more importantly, there's no real change. If the commission only has 10 people on it, so right away you're set for deadlock, okay? But more important than that, it has a quorum requirement. All the Democrats, Republicans got to do is not show up. We're not showing up. Bear the heat of public criticism. And more importantly, this group could be brilliant, could put forward a brilliant plan. All Silver's got to do, or Skelos do, or Cuomo, whoever who's governor in 2022, is to say no. Goes back to the commission, they do it again, they say no, and we're right back at the legislature. Come on, guys. That's pulling the wool over the voters' eyes. We're better to stand up and say, we have higher goals. We want to do things right. Just throw it out, start over again, and we have to build public and editorial pressure on that, not only because redistricting is at the heart of democracy in terms of having competitive races, but those of us, and Arthur Schiff is here. Where are you, Arthur? Raise your hand. The work that you did on this, I read very early. So many of us in this room have worked on this for decades. Enough's enough. Say no. Let's set higher standards. And you have to, we have to speak out on this. So what I've done, not that you all need it, I've put together and sent to every single editorial board in New York today a synopsis that shows the actual amendment. I yellow line things on it to make it obvious where it's in default. Then the backup statute that was passed as a measure of necessity on March 15th that the legislators didn't even see because, as you know, under a message of necessity, you don't have to even print the bill. And it has penalties in here. And the penalties are, if this amendment is not passed a second time by January 30th, that group, let's say the Democrats do control, and let's say they throw this out, they lose their seats on the commission. This is engineered by Cuomo and Skelos so that if it's not passed, even if the Democrats are in control, their 4 seats on the commission are thrown out. It's a stupid backup statute and needs, we have 10 years, so I'll be here still standing up waving this thing in 10 years to overthrow it. It has Dr. Benjamin's critique in it. and it points out the absurdity of keeping the number of state senators in it. And we're going to give this also to all of the top reporters. I met with 2 last night, so when they write about this stuff, they're just not taking quickies from press releases. And obviously we document how this, quote, obscure deal between Cuomo, Silver, and Skelos on the mathematical formula is very important to our future. Look, I clearly have a position.
What else do you think of that?
But I can tell you that, in wrapping up, there's no reason for us not to have the following goal: the best legislature in the country. We have so many bright people, so many people dedicated to public service. Why should we set our sights lower? We should have the best Democratic Party, and we don't even have a party. And this isn't a problem with Andrew. It's been true for years. It's a post office box now. We don't encourage young people to come into the government. We should have the best Republican Party. And just as an aside, and working with Brian Kolb, who's been out speaking on constitutional change before I was, he's a very good leader. He's the only one of the 4 that doesn't have a law practice on the side. And my staff and his staff, he's got great staff. Now, not that we agree on everything, but there's no reason not to have the best Republican Party. Power corrupts. One-party government can't be our goal. We need smart people that disagree respectfully. That should be our goal. And the end result will be that New York will have, and I'm a business guy, the best, the most creative business environment that is fair to our workers. We don't need to say, are you pro-worker, are you pro-business? Ridiculous. We work together. And then we look at a whole range of ideas that you have and I have, whether it's being positive thoughts about how to restore pensions to private industry that's been wiped out, at least when I go to my hometown in Canandaigua. You just see the change. Whether it's be creative ideas on campaign finance reform if public financing is not acceptable. It may be, and in my case, 3% of the public agrees with me, that we move to a dedicated legislature that has to follow the congressional rules. This is a complicated job. I believe in pros. I believe in the pros in this room that think about constitutional change and really should be the leaders of what goes in the Constitution. And to get the corruption out of Albany, I think we just got to admit this is a full-time job, increase the pay dramatically, and if you commit to the congressional rules, great. If you don't and you want to opt out, then you just stay at $79,000. So I want to thank everybody again. It's exciting for me to be here, and I'm going to be very interested to hear some of the positive comments about the redistricting amendment.